Hey, I'm Kai, and today I'm going to be checking out the Baatsin pedal by Joyo. This is an 8-in-1 overdrive set to recreate some of the greatest overdrive tones of all time. Now, this demo is sponsored as Joyo have sent me over this one to demo and review, however I will keep it honest as always. If you'd like to pick this one up for yourself, there is an affiliate link in the description box down below. Let's get into a quick overview. This pedal is currently £42.50 on Amazon here in the UK, however that is on a Black Friday deal, so expect that to change after November. As mentioned, there are 8 different drive models in this pedal. They aren't all fully recreated as we've only got a volume, tone and gain for each, so you're missing out on things like the voicing switch on the O.C.D for instance, as well as some of the more complex EQ things like the Timmy has. This should keep the pedal nice and usable though, because everything works the same regardless of what mode you're on. As expected for an overdrive pedal, the power draw on this one is very low. It's 30 milliamps at 9 volts, so most pedalboard power supplies should be able to juice this one just fine. There's nothing more to mention, so let's get into some tones. I'm running my Balaguer Synthwave Espada into the Amped Gemini plugin to start things off. This is a nice clean amp based on a Fender Twin, so that we can really hear what the overdrive pedal is doing. Of course, let's hear my dry tone first. So yeah, other than a touch of reverb just to keep things exciting, there's not too much going on with that tone. We've not got any compressors or anything like that running, it's just straight into the amp plugin. I'm going to dial in each of these different modes on the pedal and talk about them as we go. The first one is the T.OD, which is based on the Timmy. I quite like that. It's very fuzzy sounding. It's not what I'd consider an overdrive to be, but for a start, I'm quite enjoying that. I definitely prefer this one with the tone up pretty high and the gain up nice and high. It does a nice distortion-y kind of thing. I'm not as keen on it as an overdrive pedal, but for a distortion, this is pretty great. Mode 2 is called Sweety, and this is based on the Mad Professor Sweet Honey Overdrive. One thing I'm immediately noticing with this one is that it's not got that much volume on tap. I've got this gunned and it's almost at unity gain. In fact, I'm not really noticing much difference on any of the sweeps of these knobs, so this is a very interesting one to try and dial in because it doesn't have that much range to it. Again, I'm much preferring that one more as a distortion, since the gain all the way down is still quite a distorted tone. Let's try out B.Boost, which doesn't have anything on it in the manual, however I think this is going to be based on the BB preamp pedal. That's an interesting sounding overdrive. It's quite fat and thick, and I think it would work nicely on bass, but it's doing a very odd thing to this guitar tone. It sort of makes it fat out a little bit. Mode 4 is the absolute classic staple must-have overdrive, especially when it's in a green enclosure. This is the T808 model in the Baatsin, which is of course based on the Tube Screamer, the classic TS808. That seems to let through an awful lot of the dry signal, and it's really hard to dial in. I've got next to no volume out of this one again, even with the gain maxed out and the volume almost all the way up. Not enjoying that too much, but maybe it'll fare a little bit better when we switch over to some high gain stuff later on the demo. For now though, let's try out the Overdrive one, which is going to be based on the Boss OD1, the original Overdrive circuit. Okay, so I'm kind of enjoying what that one's doing actually. It's a nice crunchy sort of sound. Now we're going to move into some higher gain territory here with the crunchiest pedal, which I think is going to be based on the MI Audio Crunch Box. Obviously, this is way beyond what you'd expect of an Overdrive. This is definitely into distortion territory with this, but as an all-in-one distortion pedal, I think I'm liking the Baatsin. Next is the Rioter, which is going to be, of course, based on the Sewer Riot. So that sounds more of a sort of messer rectifier type of high gain tone. Rather than the crunchy British thing that we had with the previous model, this is a lot thicker, a lot more saturated, and a lot more scooped. I'm finding that the distortions sound really great into the Amped Gemini plugin, which is of course based on the Fender Twin. That may change when we switch over to a plugin in just a second, but before we do that, let's hear the final model of this unit. This is the O.C.Drive, which, you know, that's going to be based on the full tone OCD. That's just super thick. I don't think this is working with this amp. That may change when we switch over to a different amp though. So far I'd say we've got maybe 4 models that sound great into the Amped Gemini plugin, which 4 out of 8 ain't bad on a pedal that's this price. My opinion, of course, only counts for one person, so if you enjoyed some of these that I didn't enjoy, let me know in the comment section down below. Or, you know, even if you agreed with me. It's good to get feedback on these different things in the comments so that people can read other people's comments and see what everyone else thinks of this. Now, to take things up in gain just a little, we're going to move over to the VX30 plugin, which is based on an AC30 combo. I won't do a full deep dive of every model through this amp, I'll just cherry pick some of my favourites and we'll go from there. Also, we need to hit the dry tone. I think the Chime Overdrive is going to work quite nicely into this, so let's hear that. Next, I'm going to try out the B.Boost and see if I can get something better sounding through the VX30. Yeah, it's a nice ratty, disgusting sort of thing that works nicely for indie, not so much for the cleaner stuff. I also want to try out the highest one, the O.C.Drive, just to see what that's doing on this. I think that's a bit of a redemption on that one, honestly. I think this is really a case of they work best in 2 different amps. In that sense, I guess it's nice to have all of the different options available so that you can find the drives that best suit your amp. I'm guessing not many people are going to be switching between all 8 different drives on this. I'll dial up the gain again on the amp section shortly and we'll run through a British stack sound. But before I do, please drop me a like, subscribe on this video. It goes a long way towards helping me out. I cover a lot of budget guitar pedals like this and I have got some more Joyo stuff in the works, so if you subscribe you won't miss those. Now the next plugin I've got set up for this is the Amped Pink Sabbath. This is based on a high watt DR105. Let's hear that one completely dry. I say completely dry, of course we have got delay and reverb running on there, but this is without the overdrive pedal, you know what I mean. Let's go for the T808 drive and see if we can get a redemption on that one. not sure about a full redemption, but it's definitely better through this amp than it was through the Gemini. Let's try out mode 6, which is the crunchy mode, and see what we can do with that one. Thick, grungy, kind of fun, almost fuzzy in a way. Before we switch out to the high gain amp, let's check out the Rioter. Again, it just goes into stupid, silly territory, and I really like that. Okay, I'm going to switch out guitars, actually. I'm not going to use this Espada for the last demo. I'm going to change over to the Schecter KM7 7-string. Okay, let's get absolutely disgusting with it then, shall we? This is tuned down to drop G sharp, and I'm running through amped block letter, which is ML Soundlab's take on a 5150. Let's hear it dry, but this is really going to benefit from the boost. Super sludgy, gross, definitely needs a boost. Let's try it out. Again, I'm just going to cherry pick a couple. I think the T808 is fairly fitting for an amp like this, so let's try it. Yep, does the thing. Fine, happy with that. T808 officially redeemed. Let's also try out the Sweety drive on this. Really liking that. Super thick, super fat. Definitely not doing the amp tightening drive as much, but it's, you know, really nice and fun to play to. I think finally I want to try out one of the high gain distortions into the high gain amp and see if we can get that maybe fuzzy kind of thing going on. Too much gain, absolute nonsense, having the time of my life here. So I think just through demoing it through a few different amps, I've really noticed the benefits of a pedal like this. It means that you can pick the best drives that work with your amp and ignore the ones that don't really work as well. I found a use case for pretty much every single one of the drives in this. However, I also found that some amps really didn't like some of them, and some amps really liked them. I think generally I would have liked a little bit more volume on tap for a lot of these. I found that a lot of them I was completely gunning and still wanting more. I also found that the tone knob didn't have that much of a sweep to it. It sort of went dark all the way up to about, 3 o'clock or so, and then from there it's when you started to get the bit of brightness. I have to say, for the £42.50 that this pedal would cost, it's a worthwhile addition to most people's setups. It's so versatile that you're almost certain to find something you like in this. This pedal is also super easy to use. You've got the volume, tone and gain that's very standard on basically every Overdrive pedal, and the only thing that's out of the ordinary is the Overdrive selection switch. If I were making this pedal, I think I'd swap out the tone knob for separate bass and treble controls, because a few of these models were way too bassy and a few of them needed a little bit more treble. There are ways that this pedal could have been expanded, but I understand that adding anything like that would add to the price of the pedal. The only mode that I didn't find working too well for me was the BB preamp style thing. It kind of worked into the AC30 model, but again, just, not a model that I'm a fan of. So that was the Joyo Baatsin. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this pedal. I appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. If you'd like to check out something else, there's a link on screen for you to see one of the other videos on my channel. That's all for this one though, so thank you for watching. I've been Kai.